Morning, good afternoon, good night, welcome back, welcome to appreciate the support. Either way, my name is Joe Josh. I go by iChart Daily. Follow me on X, the iChart Daily. Everything else is iChart Daily. Today is November 28th, 2025. In today's video, not financial advice. Going to be quickly going over the 12-hour daily and 2-day time frame. What am I thinking? What am I seeing? Where am I setting alerts? Window to my thought process. So let's get into it. First things first, the long-term trends still remain bearish. We're still breaking down. What that tells me is we're going to have a hard time during this dead cat bounce to break these levels here. And if we do come back up and form anything lower to the 109 to the 122, that will have a continuation pattern with the indicators, meaning in order for this not to death cross, in order for the RSI to go back above the moving average and back above the 70 line, in order for this to be extremely bullish, in order for the stochastic RSI to go back above, there needs to be massive buying pressure, and we might not see that because of just what we're seeing. And when you see certain confirmations playing out on longer time frames, they have a high probability of continuing. So what I mean by that is the death cross and everything that I've been telling you over the past years. So because long-term trends predict short-term outcomes, we were expecting something of support around the 21-day moving average. We've seen it. The wick is showing it. We're here. The holidays are around the corner. And usually money comes into the market when people gather because they're talking about that they are still up a cool 400% if they got in at that 17.5, 15.5, 13.5. If you got in here, you're still in that 260. You know, you're up. You're up. You're definitely up. It's not like the chart looks like this right now, and we're coming completely down. I do think we are on the cusp of forming the top, but I do think for the short term, over the next month, we're in recovery. I do think the blood has stopped. I do think that we've hit certain levels and we're seeing divergence now on certain time frames, and that's what I wanted to show you today. So in my last video, I mentioned if you are new to trading and you're looking to just swing trade, your trades last couple of days to possibly weeks, you don't have to check the chart every 2 seconds. You're using at the minimum 12-hour daily and 2-day time frame. So let's go over some confirmations. Like I said, we have a bullish cross, a golden cross bullish structure on the MACD. Yes, below the zero line, showing us that we are going to have a hard time breaking 106. That is the zero line. The RSI is above the moving average and is now above the 50 line, showing us that we are above the moving averages. Stochastic RSI is above the 80. So what that shows me is we're now bullish on this time frame. If we stay in this structure, we're going to stay above 90,000. I now go to the daily time frame and I say, okay, we're above, but we're below the 50 line, showing us we're going to have a hard time breaking this 92.9 level. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the moving average and I'm lining it up with previous resistance level. So we're going to have a hard time breaking this level unless we break this level here. But we have 1 and 2 confirmations on our side. So what you could do is set an alert around this 48, 49 level. And once we do, you know we are now going and breaking this moving average. What I do now is I go to the next time frame. And I say, okay, well now if this breaks, let's delete everything. If this breaks and goes back to the 50, that means we have potential to break that 92, which is the 11-day dotted moving average, and we could go back to the 21-day moving average, which lines up. I'm going to line it up with these levels right about here, right? It's a range, right? So I'm saying the bottom of these wicks are the 98.7, 98.7, and then the top of these wicks are the 95.6. So that's how I figure out my range of where I'd like to or probably see resistance, right? Now, the most bullish thing that can happen is we hit these levels, and then eventually we break down. And the most bullish thing that's going to help us understand that, you see like this swing from 126 all the way down to 80, lower highs, lower lows, right? It's like dead every single time. What you want to see now is this low possibly get retested, or maybe a little bit of a higher low, and your indicators start forming hidden bullish divergence on this daily, 2-day, and 3-day. So the 12-hour, you could see, this is what I was trying to explain in the last video, everything happens in waves, but on the 12-day, on the 12-hour, excuse me, the waves last about a week, a little bit more than a week, sometimes a little bit less than a week. But my point is, this wave is now going up. We're about 5 days in. So I potentially could see us going up to these moving averages on the 2-day if we do break this 93, or we stop here, we come back down, and we want to see, like I said, this. We want to see the same low, or potentially even a little bit of a lower low, because everyone thinks we're going to go bullish now. So you got to wipe out those longs before we move up. But we want to see the wave on the 12-hour, right? This right here, we just golden cross. We want to see if we do death cross, and then do we stop here while this does something like this. This does something like this, stays above the 50. This stays above the 80, and we form some type of hidden bullish divergence, showing us that we're now going to break the moving averages, stay above, and use it as support. And then the same thing happens on the daily waves, right? The daily waves, same thing, but now this is 15 days, right? This is 10 days. You start, once again, waves on every time frame, but the waves now get longer and longer and longer, right? This one's now 48 days, right? This one was 42 days. We are currently, and you can see we're about to golden cross, we're currently 48 days in. So I would like to see, once again, this move start going up. Then we do this, and then we potentially hit that move back up to these levels of the 100, and I'd say right about here. Always go to the longer time frames. I say we're going to go right about there. We'll have a nice recovery pattern, but unfortunately, like I said, if the 2-month is still coming down, these highs here are going to be a very low probability of them being broken. And then if that plays out, if you remember me saying, right, this is doing this. Come on, bro. This is doing this. But this wave went to 109. This wave went to 126. If this wave makes a lower high back at these highs here, or even just a little bit higher, right, the 110, 112, and we come back down, if you remember me saying, this is now a head and shoulders pattern that could possibly break to the downside and eventually fill these lows to these 78,000 and the top of these candles here of the 70,000. And the reason why I think more bearish is because of the longer time frames, right? You don't want to think more bullish if your longer time frames are turning bearish. You don't want to think more bearish if your longer time frames are going more bullish, right? That's how I called the 17,000, 15,000, 13,000, because everyone was saying 10,000, but I was saying that the chart was telling me otherwise. Like, it's not my opinion when I say something is more bearish or bullish, right? I never said everything's more bullish because of rates, or bearish because of tariffs, or bullish because of sale, or bearish because of this, bullish and bearish. But you can't justify it, bro. There's too many news actions. What I justified it with was down, but up, and up, and up. And then once we broke right here, once again, we went from 18,000 to 29, and we stayed above the 50, and it was off to the races. Now we're below the 50, we're below the 20, and we're breaking down. So if we were to come back up and retest the 50 line and the moving averages on the weekly chart, like we did here and here and here, we have a high probability of going back to the moving averages of 101 to 105, maybe a wick above, and then we break down, like I said, because we're then going to be rejected by the moving average and rejected by the 50 line if that plays out. And the reason why I think that has a high probability of playing out is because I'm looking way longer, and I'm looking at the RSI breaking market structure like I taught you in the last video, right? Very simple, bullish, bullish, bullish. Once you break one structure, break the structure, break the structure, break structure, break structure, break structure, that is bearish. It's very simple. It's very cut and dry. Once this death crosses, if we do have that lower high, once again, not my opinion, not my opinion, not my opinion. Once the stochastic RSI breaks below the 80, right? Not my opinion, not my opinion, not my opinion. That is it. Love you guys. Appreciate the support. Follow me on X. Once again, the iChart Daily. If you know anyone, or if you're in any groups that would benefit from my knowledge, I would appreciate a share. I love that the channel is growing, and the partnership with Allcoin Buzz is helping. Excuse me. If anyone else is looking to network, do a podcast, do a video, shoot me a message. Always available to network. Besides that, enjoy the day, and let's set some alerts. Watch that 12-hour daily and 2-day time frame. Enjoy.